Well, clearly this was a rough week. I've got probably 3 or 4 different onions that are just little pieces, cut all different ways. And then because zucchini is in season, naturally I bought too many of them. So obviously this is the perfect setup for a zucchini recipe video. Perfect for summer is a super light Italian bake, along with, we're going to use some grated zucchini in our omelet, followed by a delicious bowl of zucchini vegetable soup, a simple zucchini side that can be paired with literally anything, and last but not least, some delicious zucchini boat pizzas. Guys, this first recipe, which is our Italian bake, is super quick and easy. This is low carb, it's light, it's the perfect dish for summer, and it comes together in just a few minutes. So here I am going to slice my zucchini. As you can see, these are sliced pretty thick, but you don't want to slice them too thin or they will bake down into nothing. And then I'm just going to go ahead and layer these in the bottom of my baking dish. I have a relatively small baking dish. You can spread them out just a little bit more if you have a bigger baking dish. And I'm just going to go ahead and season mine with this potato slayer seasoning mix. You can use whatever seasonings you have in your house. Then I'm going to go ahead and small dice about a half of an onion. And then I'm just going to add this onion to a pan with about a pound of ground beef. You can use other ground meat, ground chicken, ground turkey if you prefer. I'm using ground beef in mine. We're going to continue to cook these until our ground beef is totally browned up. I'm adding a little bit of salt and some pepper to taste. Next, I'm going to add in some garlic. You can use garlic, fresh garlic, or powdered garlic. Seasoning it up also with some Italian seasoning to taste. And then we'll just mix all of those down into our ground beef and cook for another minute or so. Make sure the ground beef or your other ground meat is cooked. All the seasonings are mixed in well. And then we're going to add in some pasta sauce. You can use whatever you want. I have a tomato basil sauce. That's my favorite, but whatever pasta sauce you really like, add that to your ground beef and mix it up. Next, we're going to go ahead and top our bottom layer of zucchini with some of our pasta sauce with the beef in it. Our next layer is going to be some cottage cheese. This is light and adds protein. Followed by another layer of our zucchini. Just make sure to go ahead and add a little bit more seasoning on top of that fresh zucchini. And then we're going to go ahead and add our remaining meat sauce on top of that last layer of zucchini. And then our last layer is just going to be some shredded cheese over the top. And then we're just going to bake this in the oven at about 350 degrees until it is cooked through and our cheese is melted. You may have to cover it just a little bit of the time so that the cheese doesn't burn. And this is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. It's bubbly and delicious. Eating in season saves money. Next up, we're gonna incorporate some grated zucchini into our breakfast scramble and serve that with some potato. Skillet potatoes. Okay, these are really small, so I've got 2 of them. I'll cook them maybe for about 4 minutes. That's gonna half cook the potato, so it's gonna be softer and it's gonna take a lot less time in the skillet. I don't want to be standing there all day frying potatoes. Plus, it gives it a better texture if it's already kind of softer. Like even if sometimes I'll just do baked potatoes and I'll keep them in the fridge because my husband and I, we can both use these in a variety of ways. So that's what I'm going to do today. One of my zucchinis, so this is a kind of a small one. I'm going to grate it up and put it in some eggs with red onion remnants. I'm going to cut the rest of that up just as small as I can get it. I believe I've got just a little bit left of sliced mushroom in the fridge. Let me check. Obviously, we're going to have to put some cheese in there. So I've got some of this Parmesan mozzarella. I'm going to use that. And then I've just got a little bit, and I knew it was just a little bit of mushrooms, but that's okay. This is enough for breakfast this morning. So these are those baby Bella mushrooms. Okay, guys, do you, future you, a big favor and clean up your grater. This is the side I used to grate my zucchini this morning. Clean it up right away, because if not, it's going to be stuck on here and it's going to be a real pain in the booty. I have got my grated up zucchini right here. So start by adding our onions and mushrooms to a pan with some cooking oil. Once our onions and mushrooms start to soften up, then we're going to go ahead and add our zucchini, but we're going to have to increase the heat because we want to make sure we cook out a lot of the moisture from the zucchini. We don't want it to be watery. So we're going to turn up the heat just a little bit. Meanwhile, I have my potatoes going in the other skillet. Remember, they are half cooked because we already cooked them a few minutes in the microwave. I've sliced them up, added them to a pan with a little bit of oil, and we're just going to brown them in the other skillet. I'm adding some salt and pepper to my zucchini, and remember, we have it on high heat. We're just going to continue to cook this, season everything, and cook until it starts to brown up. Once our veggies are cooked and our zucchini is browned up, we're just going to go ahead and add in our scrambled eggs. And then we're just simply going to scramble all of this together until our eggs are cooked through. And then finally add some cheese if desired. I'm adding mozzarella. I would usually use like a Colby or a 4 cheese of some sort, Mexican style cheese, but this is what I've got, so this is what I'm using today. And then I'm just going to toss it to melt the cheese, and then we'll plate it up. This is what we've got. We've got our delicious zucchini scramble, as well as our simple fried potatoes with a little bit of ketchup, or not. Depends on you. And that's it. That's a good way to get in your veggies and incorporate some vegetables in breakfast, which is a meal that is typically sort of lacking on the vegetables. At least that's pretty much been my experience. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Let's get on to the next recipe. Okay, guys, so now we're going to make one of my favorite zucchini side dishes. This is so easy, and you can, anytime you have fresh zucchini, you can easily make this. There's really no other ingredients required. You can add some fresh corn or even frozen corn or some chopped bell pepper into this. Sometimes I will add to this. Even if you just have the zucchini, you can just chop up your zucchini like this and cook it real quick in the skillet. It only takes a couple of minutes, and it's a delicious and beautifully plated side dish that can go with anything. And this is very, very cheap to make. I've added just a little bit of coconut oil in the pan. So once that coconut oil gets melted, I'm going to add my zucchini to the pan. Just add in some salt, pepper, garlic powder, and crushed red chili flakes. If you don't like it spicy, you can leave the crushed red chili out. And basically, you're going to season to taste. Okay, guys, that's it for this simple dish. So I'm in the mood for some pizza today, so I'm gonna do a little bit healthier version, and I've got these zucchinis, so it's the perfect setup. So I'm just gonna start by chopping off the ends, and then I'm going to cut the zucchinis in half lengthwise. I'm going to lightly spray my pan with a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to scoop out the seeds in the center of the zucchini. We're just trying to create a little bit of a well down the center of the zucchini to add our toppings. Now I'm going to chop up my toppings. I'm going to go ahead and use 2 mushrooms because my zucchinis are really small. I'm just going to dice them up real small in small pieces. And I'm going to season my zucchini squash with a little bit of Italian seasoning and some garlic powder. Zucchini is all seasoned. I'm going to add a little bit of pizza sauce to the bottom of each of the zucchinis. And then I'm going to top each one with my pizza fillings, in my case, my diced up mushrooms. I've decided to top mine with some mushroom as well as a little bit of pepperoni. So I'm just going to take out a few pepperoni slices and dice them up into little pieces so that I can top my zucchini pizzas. And then I'm going to add some mozzarella cheese over the top. And then finally, I'm just going to add a little bit more of the Italian seasoning on top of the cheese for a little bit of extra flavor. And then I'm just going to bake these at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 15 to 20 minutes or until they are cooked through and the cheese is nice and bubbly. Today, I am going to be honest, I'm a little bit tired. So I am just going to be making a quick soup tonight. There is basically 2 things that I need today. One is a good night's sleep and the other one is a good hot bowl of soup. So with lots of vegetables in it. So that is what I'm making today. I am using chicken stock. You can also use vegetable stock, vegetable broth, bouillon, or you can use even just water. But if you do just use water, you'll probably need to increase the spices and the herbs. You might also need a little bit more salt than what I'm using in this. So I've diced up about a half of an onion. I'm also going to dice up some garlic. So there's 4 little bitty zucchinis, and then 3 small potatoes, and then 2 carrots. So for my seasonings, I've got some salt, as well as some pepper and a bay leaf, along with some thyme, turmeric, and coriander powder. I put the amounts on the screen. These are some halved mung beans without the husk. This can be purchased at your local Indian grocer or on Amazon. Right, so there's my rinsed and drained lentils and all of my prepped veggies and my seasonings. You can always do this on the stove if you don't have an Instant Pot, but I'm going to add enough olive oil to brown up my onions. Once my onions are browned, I'm just going to add the garlic and saute for about 30 seconds, and then we're going to add everything else to the pot. And we're going to mix it up. Add in seasonings and chicken broth. You can saute all of the vegetables and the lentils on the stove until everything is tender. Alternatively, if you're making this in the Instant Pot like I am, I'm going to cook it on high pressure for 10 minutes and then allow 10 minutes natural pressure release and release the rest of the pressure. To add some additional protein to the soup, and if you don't have the lentils, I'm just going to go ahead and serve this soup alongside these baked chicken leg quarters. I've just simply seasoned them up and popped them in the oven. This makes the perfect dinner when you don't have a lot of energy. So here is my soup. It's all done, and you can certainly eat it up just like this if you want it chunky. I kind of want it a little bit creamy. So I am going to puree it a little bit with my immersion blender. And I'm not going to blend it completely. I still want it to be a little bit chunky, but I want it to be a little bit smooth and creamy too. So I'm going to blend it a little bit. Okay, so here you can see I have my immersion blender. I'm just going to blend a little bit. Okay guys, and so there is the texture of our soup. It is now just a little bit creamy and smooth, but it's also still got plenty of big chunks of veggies in it. Dinner is ready. I did get me one of those small pieces, the smallest piece of the chicken, and then I've got my soup, but it is absolutely delicious, and it's just what I needed tonight, just what the doctor ordered. And I also chopped up a small handful of spinach just to add a little bit of extra green color and another vegetable as well as extra vitamins.